In this segment, you will learn that dealing with pests is like having a leaking faucet. Pest control is just another facet of being a property owner and should be handled like any other repair. It's just a cost of doing business. You'll hear about how common pests are and how they can invade any property, anywhere. We'll discuss the importance of communication with your tenants so you are in a position to identify, contain, and eradicate any infestation. There are various types of treatments, and this segment will also discuss who is responsible to pay for them.
In general, it is the landlord's responsibility to keep a rental property in habitable condition and to make repairs. In terms of pest extermination, the cost up front is really going to have to be borne by the landlord. Regardless of how the pest got in, whether it be bed bugs, ants, roaches, etc., regardless of how they are introduced to a unit, the cost is going to be borne or needs to be borne up front by the landlord for the simple reason that the landlord has the responsibility of maintaining not only the rental unit, that being the tenant's apartment, in a habitable condition, but a responsibility for the entire building, including the common areas, to make sure that that area and the building itself remains in habitable condition and to make repairs. So the cost up front in terms of bed bugs really needs to be borne by the landlord. If the issue is not dealt with by the landlord or the property manager, who's ever running the property immediately in a way that detects, contains, and eradicates the bed bugs, there's going to be much bigger, much higher costs in dealing with the issue down the line.
As far as like bed bugs or roaches or infestation of mice or things of that nature, obviously when we have that type of infestation, we get into some health-related issues with having infestation in our rental properties. And so when we have those types of issues, we do have ordinances that we enforce to eradicate those types of situations. Because it is a livability issue, and it is a health, and it is a safety issue.
Research your local companies. Find out what do they offer for services or treatments, what is the cost, and what is their timely response. If in fact they can't come out for a month to treat an infestation, that may not work for you or your residents.
Being a property owner or a manager of an apartment building, you always have the possibility of dealing with roaches, mice, and bed bugs. So that risk is always there, no matter how nice of a building you have or how hard you work at managing it. But the important thing is communication with the tenants and letting them know that if you have any pest problems whatsoever, please let me know about it so we can take care of it for you. If I had any advice at all for the landlord, what I would say is if somebody does report bed bugs, number one, don't start chewing on them, yelling at them, belittling the person, telling them it's they got a dirty place or they brought them in. Maybe that person didn't. Maybe it's the neighbor that's actually got them. And, this poor person is just, one of the victims in the building. For a landlord to say, hey, you got to pay for this yourself. I can't believe you brought this into my building, and, being very aggressive towards the person probably is not a good idea for the landlord. If that person tells other people in the building that that's how the landlord acted when you reported you had a roach or a bed bug, you're probably not going to have anybody in that building that's going to ever go call that landlord and report something. And consequently, you're going to end up spending a lot of money because people are going to have pest problems that are festering. They don't say anything about it. They're going to the store to get their over-the-counter stuff, and months are going to go by, and the pest problem is going to spread. Back in the 60s, when bed bugs were, bad, what got rid of them was DDT. Of course, DDT had a lot of side effects. They never really did go away completely. They did here in the U.S. because of, DDT, but there's a lot of countries out there that have always had bed bugs. So we're getting them here now. We're getting them in taxi cabs, squad cars are getting them, daycare centers are getting them. I mean, movie theaters. Bed bugs are just on an increase now.
The cost of bed bug extermination will vary according to who's doing it, the type of treatment, the number of units affected, and the number of visits needed to eradicate the problem.
Once you detect the bed bugs, to inspect the surrounding units, and then if they're only in that one unit, then the next step would be to educate the tenants on what you're going to have to do to eliminate them. And there's a couple different methods for getting rid of bed bugs. The best method for completely eliminating bed bugs is a heat treatment. To heat treat, we bring these heaters into your home, apartment, and we actually bring the temperature in your home up to about 135 or 140 degrees. As we do the job, we have a computer that takes all the readings from these heat sensors, and we're able to determine the temperature of all these different belongings and to ensure that it's up to be 135 degrees or 140. There's also chemical that's involved. We have to remove everything away from the wall by about 3 feet, and we pull the carpet up off the tack strip, and there is a treatment that is done under the carpet, under the baseboards. We remove all the outlet covers and switch plate covers, and there's a product that's put back into the wall. It's a powder, and this is to ensure, in case something is in the wall, that in case the heat can't get to it, that powder, it is a poison, will get at the bed bugs and kill them. If a landlord's worried about the big scene going on where everybody knows what's happening, our trucks are unmarked, and we do that for a reason, so nobody really knows what's going on. Chemical, it can work also too, but it's important that whatever the bed bugs are in, like if the bed bugs are in box spring and mattress and say a love seat or a couch or something like that, you literally got to throw that stuff away. I mean, in the garbage, gone. It has to be removed out of the place because you can't chemically treat a bed or a couch. And so the chemical treatments work, but it's, you got to be very, very careful on how you go about doing it because there's so many things that the bed bugs can be hiding in. Roaches are a big deal in apartment buildings. They really are. If the people see a roach, let somebody know about it right away. And that too, the longer you let that thing go, they will end up spreading to other units. It's very important to, the unit that actually called about the roaches to get in there and treat that. But also you want to inspect the surrounding units to contain the problem and keep your costs down. We're only treating a few units versus, half the building. We used to spray for roaches, a residual chemical. Now they have a bait. It's a gel bait. I suppose it's creamy like toothpaste, I suppose, or peanut butter. The roaches actually liked it, and they will go to it and feed on it and then die from the poison. There's some companies out there that are spraying for roaches, but not many. Most people are using the baits because it is so effective. A couple different techniques, things you can do for mice. The easiest one would be if you could seal something up. If you could seal up a crack so the mice can't get in, that would be a non-chemical approach. It could be as simple as setting out a trap or a glue board. But once they get in, they'll get in that heat register system, and it acts as a superhighway, and they can run from apartment to apartment. And so there's different kinds of either a bait that you could put inside the wall that they would feed on and die, or what works the best is a tracking powder. Mice come in looking for food source. One thing a mouse will do is he'll cruise around the exterior of a building, and when he comes upon a source of warmer air, it could be the crack underneath the door, where he's comes by that door and feels a little bit of the heat from the inside, and he's going to want to get inside there.
the landlord has an obligation imposed on him or her to make sure that the property is maintained in habitable condition and take care of all repairs that are needed at the property. That's the general rule. And good business sense is bear the cost up front, deal with the problem, get rid of it while it's a small problem, so in the end that the problem does not spread.
In summary, the property owner is responsible to respond to reports of pest infestations just as they would to any other repairs.